all right, normally we just like get into it real slow and natural. So she told you about our new foot endeavor.
Yeah. New adventures.
TJ thinks that we should test it.
I could never sell my soul to the devil like that.
Listen, I know people that make a lot of money just the pictures of their feet.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, maybe in my younger years, I would have been like, fuck it, dude. Let's send it full on like paint and everything. But now I'm just like, I want the podcast to blow up for good reason. Like I'm cool with it. Like if we get popular because our feet are sexy and then it pushes up.
Ours?
Yeah, I have great feet.
No.
I'm not taking them off right now.
You don't.
Yeah, I have great.
You could pay to have nicer feet.
Yeah, I could do that too. But I feel like my dogs are all right, So somebody just commented on our thing. They're like, imagine coming to a podcast to comment about feet and not being here for what the actual show is about.
Yeah, see?
I thought that was pretty funny.
Saying, right?
But I feel like that's the whole thing about a podcast, right? Like obviously there's an overarching theme, blah, 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 whatever. But like you don't know what you're going to find in that video. And if that's your thing, whole new audience.
I thought for sure it was because, Aaliyah's story is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a good one, Like
Sure.
I really liked that podcast.
Well, yeah, but that's like I said, the initial draw. She's got a great story, all the things, but then you got the one person that's like, hey, but also P.S. So let's share this here, and you get that whole following community, but also like, hey, there is a message here. But hey, she's got beautiful feet.
Come for the story, stay for the feet.
Yeah.
Right?
That'll be our new tagline.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Oh, we talked about it too in the beginning. Didn't she
Yeah,
say?
I actually
We
called
had no
it out.
idea
Yeah,
until like
yeah.
later.
Yeah, so I was like, I think I said in the beginning, I go like, so this is what we're doing, huh? We're letting the dogs out. We're going to let them bark. And then Aaliyah was like, people pay a lot of money for this. And then, it just randomly got on like a foot blog.
Yep.
And now it's over 4K, I think, right now, views.
It's a whole entire different world. It's a whole entire community. It is a whole thing.
Hey, I don't care. I'm not kink shaming. I don't care. People like it.
I don't care
whatever.
what people do either.
Let them.
But I'm just saying, don't be resistant.
If it's like the kickstart to the podcast, like,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, we're for sure going to be, just for anybody listening or watching, we are for sure going to be barefoot again in a video because we just.
I mean, I am right now, but not
sounds
until.
like.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
It's just like 90 degrees in here.
Yeah, it's really hot. So anyway, welcome back to another episode of the Counterculture Pod. Why don't you do the intro today? Because he's your best friend.
Best friend.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this is TJ. He is my. Do you like the term hairdresser? Is that what we go with? What do we say?
I mean,
I say my hair guy.
yeah. I mean, it depends upon how narcissistic you are. I mean, I'm a hair designer. I'm a hair colorist.
Oh,
I'm a
hair
cutter. I'm a
designer.
hair stylist.
I like hair designer.
Designer.
I think on my business cards it says hair designer because I do it all. There are hair people that do just color, just cutting, just styling.
Sure.
They kind of have specialties. So I do it all. So yeah, hair designer.
Cool.
So he's been doing my hair since, oh my God. What do you think? 2015, 16?
When did I
something
fix
like
it?
that?
You came to me to fix it.
Yeah. It's been probably like 7 or 8 years, I bet. Yeah. It's been a long time because I was seeing you when you were still at Get Dolled Up for at least, I would say 2 years for sure.
So generally we like to start the show with people that we know by giving them flowers, like telling them a couple things that we love about them.
Yes.
And I know that we've skipped this on a few podcasts, but I've been talking to a lot of people that I'm not like super good friends with recently. So why don't you give them his flowers?
Okay, so 2 things. One, obviously,
Let's try to make them cry.
I wouldn't let anybody else touch my hair, and you know that. So that's just.
There were some extenuating circumstances over a period of time.
Yeah, might get into that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one else will ever touch my hair unless you leave the state, which I might consider
She would fly.
flying to you.
I know
don't
bitches that fly for their hair.
I mean, Jess might too. Jess is my best friend. She also sees TJ. And the other thing that I think is so wonderful about you is, and we just talked about this the other day, was your drive and your like dedication to your craft, and just you're just very like goal oriented. Like, I have, this marathon I'm going to run, I'm training it, I'm not missing it, even if I'm hurt. And so just very, goals and dedicated. And I think that's pretty cool, because that's very similar to our personality.
I remember Heather like telling me that you hurt your ACL or something. You hurt your knee.
I had it was an Achilles tendonitis.
Yeah, when we
was.
were going to Hawaii.
Yeah, but I was even like,
yeah.
I was even pretty impressed, because you're not like are you like an avid marathon runner or anything?
No.
Okay.
This is my first one.
Yeah, so I was pretty
He's
impressed.
an avid runner.
Yeah, cool.
But
But I just had the 2-year anniversary of like, hey, I think I'm gonna do my first turkey trot couch to 5K. So avid runner in.
Did you do
and how many have you done
I
since?
did couch to 5K.
Did you like
I
it?
Started it. Yeah. I mean, it was
Good beginners program.
It was an amazing. It is a true couch
Yeah.
to 5K. Like
Sweet.
it's like walk for 5 minutes, jog for 30 seconds. That's how. I mean, it was a true like couch to 5K.
Nice.
But it was pretty quickly. We're like, okay, I can accelerate past this.
Yeah, so I was pretty impressed, because she was like, she talked to me about your injury or whatever, and I was like, oh, sounds a little bit out of my scope, but whatever. But when she was talking about it, it was like you were super eager to like, because you still wanted to do them, like you didn't want to miss it.
No.
And a lot of times people like who are signed up for shit like that, they don't like really want to be in it, but they signed up, so they're like, fuck, I have to do it,
Yeah.
Is that you? That's you. And then so but it seemed like you actually wanted to do it, so I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was 4 weeks out from the marathon, so I had already been running I was a good 8 weeks into my training program. I had hit my peak 20-mile run, and it was the next day, or else I was like, shit, I don't know what's going on here. This looks terrible.
Yeah.
I know with Heather and the athletics, and I was like, oh, I don't know anyone else that would like understand,
Yeah.
So I started with you guys, and then I have a friend that works in orthopedics, and she was like, the second round, she was, we did some stuff. And
It's feeling better now.
yeah. I mean, it's a tendonitis thing. So I'm training for my next event coming up in November. So I'm very conscious of it, and it's like, so I took a week off because it started to flare up again, calm down, but it's fine. I know how to treat it now.
Yeah.
So
What got you into running?
so I don't know how much story Heather has told you. So I used to be very overweight. I struggled with my weight my entire life. I've lost 110, 115 pounds. And,
Holy cow.
Yeah. In an effort to like, okay, I got there, cool. Through nutrition, changing diet, all that kind of stuff. I was like, but now how do you maintain this?
Right.
So one of my mentors was like, that was 2 years ago, challenged me October 1st, like, hey, sign up for a turkey trot. They're all over the place. You can find one. It's a 5K, whatever. And I was like, I'm not a runner. I laugh at runners. They're crazy people.
Yeah, they are crazy people.
They are.
Yeah.
And the Milwaukee one, they do a 5K or an 8K. And my husband was like, well, if we're going to do it, then let's just do the 8K. And I was like, wait, that now we go from 3 to 5 miles all of a sudden. I was like, wait, what?
He's a good influence.
Yeah, he's my best instigator. So we like, fine, let's do it, whatever. And I was hooked right from jump. So
So you were 120 pounds overweight, you said?
yeah, so I probably topped out somewhere between like 310, 320 on any given day.
What was the turning point for you where you were like, fuck, I gotta
So I was in a really bad car accident in 2018.
This is when he didn't do my hair.
I put me out of work for like 3 months.
Oh, like you were already going to him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dude, that's kind of fucked up that you didn't keep doing her hair.
I know, right? I will tell you, probably 90% of my clientele feels that way.
I'm sure.
Not now, but at the time.
Yeah.
But the girls at the salon were great and stepped up when they needed to and stuff like that. But also a good portion of my clients are like, cool, I will just wait until you come back. But so my right ankle was broken, my heel was crushed. So my entire right foot, everything all was restructured, rebuilt. I was completely non-weight bearing for like 8 weeks before I started physical therapy. So between that, being sedentary, already having like a poor relationship with food, I was already overweight then. And then, 2020 happened, which to someone that suffers from like anxiety and depression and stuff like that, and being a social being, exacerbated even more. So then I kind of topped out, and I was just dealing with a lot of residual pain, inflammation, swelling, being on my feet all day, that kind of stuff. I mean, I was living in compression socks year round just to try and keep fluids out of my ankles and leg and stuff like that. And it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I can't I can't live like this long term anymore. My orthopedic surgeon was like, dude, you maybe got 5 years in your career. And I was like, what? And he's like, you are on your feet all day long. Like, he's like, yeah, you're back together, you're healed, but like there's permanent damage in there. You know, there's already arthritis and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I had to do something. So I was looking, I had consultations set up for like bariatric surgery. Like I was exploring all different avenues. I was like, I have to do something. And a friend of ours had lost a lot of weight doing this nutrition program. I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't sold on the idea of surgery. I'm like, I understand I have a poor relationship with food. So I started with it and did the nutrition program. It retrained my brain and how I look at food and how I fuel my body and stuff like that. And it just really was, I had to do something with the pain and all the residual things I was dealing with the car accident. I was like, I have to make a change here. I just can't continue.
Well, that's inspiring. That's really cool. Good for you. Where do you think, well, for real, like I've never lost 100 pounds plus. The most I've ever lost was like, I think 40.
Sure.
Like going from strongman. Yeah. But it was like,
say on your frame. Yeah. Like,
yeah. I mean, on me. Yeah. Cause I'm 5'11", but like, it was like, not because I like was, you know, like my quality of life. I mean, when you're at a certain point, no matter what, your quality of life is just kind of bad. Yeah. I was huffing and puffing going upstairs, but I was also fat for purpose doing strongman, you know, and then I lost the weight so that I could do bodybuilding. Yeah. So totally different. But, what was I going to say about that? Where do you think your poor relationship with food like came from? Do you think that was really the issue? Was it mentally like with food?
I mean, as someone that, like I said, someone that deals with like anxiety and depression and stuff like that, it was, I feel like in society, food serves as a lot of, solutions, you know, whether it's feeding emotions, feeding stress, rewarding yourself for whatever, you know, as a society, we use food as, you know, rewards, which was something I had to unlearn in getting healthy. Because there's so many times where like, all right, when I hit my 25 pounds gone, we're going to go out for a big dinner. And my coach is like, why?
Right.
You lost 25 pounds. Why would you go for a big dinner? Like, you're not an animal. Why are you rewarding yourself with food and treats and all that kind of stuff? They're like, go do something. Go do an experience. Go, you know, build memories, that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, yeah. That's right. And so, I mean, a lot of it is societal. I mean, you know, growing up, I grew up in a family where you put the food on a plate, you clean your plate, you know, you take what you eat, you know, that kind of stuff.
Grew up that way too.
You know, it's, you know, there's starving children in Africa, you know, those kinds of things, which, okay, there are, and that's a problem, but you're not sending my leftovers to the starving kids in Africa.
Right. yeah. And we also don't live in that environment.
Yeah. Right. So
I also feel like our parents' generation knew nothing like, you know, they don't know anything about nutrition. They don't follow anything really that we would. Like my mom just cooks with loads of butter and sugar and, you know.
Because it's good. She's cooking with love.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's good.
Well, that's just it. And that's like, I love food. I still love food, and I love good quality food, you know. But we live in a society of convenience, and it's so much easier to go through the drive-through. But let me tell you now, it's food is expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember the days my husband and I would go through Taco Bell, just the two of us. Taco Bell was like my Achilles heel, and still is occasionally. But I mean, the two of us, it'd be $35 at Taco Bell. What are you buying at Taco Bell that's $35?
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Yeah, what were you getting for $35 at Taco Bell? Yeah. What do you think, like, how did you retrain your brain? What was the shift? How did you start to view food?
You have to view food as fuel for your body. You know, when I made that switch from like reward system to fuel, it's like, okay, you know, the program that worked for me, I eat 6 small meals a day, combination of protein bars and shakes and lean proteins, non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats, you know, those kinds of things. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, wait, no, I'm eating food because I need to fuel my body to get through the day, as opposed to being a reward system, is just kind of when it was like, okay, yep, nope, this is what I have to do to function. I'm not feeding my emotions. I'm not feeding my, anxiety, stuff like that. One of my big mantras now is feel the feelings, don't feed the feelings.
That's good.
Yeah,
I like
really
that.
good.
Everyone's got them. We all deal with stressful anxiety things, and food is always the easiest catalyst to reach for. But
I keep thinking about the other Friday night when you were having a bad day and you're like, I want to go out to eat. And I'm like, do you want to go out to eat or you want to go out to eat because you're having a bad day?
I said that.
Yeah.
it's a very real thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I come home and, my husband does all the cooking. He's a great cook. I couldn't cook to save my soul. I mean, I could. But it's all going to be box things with directions on the back.
Sure.
We'll do a grocery shopping trip and I'll open the fridge. I'm like, we don't have any food. He's like, yeah, that's because we have to cook it. But there it is. If he's got a bad day and he's just like, let's just go out to dinner. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's great. But it's just easier.
Well, now that you made like the lifestyle switch and you view food differently, it's kind of easier to go out to eat too, right? Like there's none of that anxiety of like, oh my God, this sounds really good. This sounds really good. You're looking at it as like, okay, how is this food going to benefit me? Or like, what is the best option that I can get here instead of like, what are the tastiest things I can get here?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. We make bad choices sometimes.
You have to.
You just want pizza,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But
Every day.
I mean, pizza is delicious. But there are a lot of times where it's like you look at the menu, like, okay, what do I have going on? How do I want to feel after this? There's so many things that I now know. It's like if I eat it, I'm like, I'm gonna feel like a slug. The carb coma is so very real when you are aware enough with your body and stuff like that to listen to it, to know those kinds of things. So it's like, okay, fine. But also, like, I don't always want a salad with chicken on it. Like, is that the better option? Sure. But also, if you're gonna go out to eat, I want something that's worthy of the restaurant.
Yeah.
I can make a salad with chicken at home all day, every day.
Yeah. The 90-10 rule, right? On 90% of the time, off 10.
I'm one of those people where, like, if I look too far out at a calendar or whatnot, I get stressed out. It gives me anxiety. So, when I started with the weight loss, it's like, all right, 25 pounds. Oh, another 25 pounds. Well, I'm still overweight, so let's do 25, that kind of thing. It has to be incremental. But now that I'm on the flip side of that, it's like, okay, if I look at my week, how did I do this week as a big picture? Was it, like you said, 90-10 rule? Like, was I 90% on? That is a successful week. Nobody's, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but to have 100% on is, I mean, that's dedication. And I have few good weeks like that, but they exist. But 90-10, that's a win, and sometimes you have to just find your wins.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Shifting from kind of the fitness portion of it, so you seem super goal oriented and like structured, right? How did that kind of translate into your actual business life? She's told me like a few things. Says that you're really successful in the hair industry. So how does that kind of like tie in together?
I've always been very goal driven, reward driven, if you will, from a young age. I started doing musical theater at a very young age. So the whole process of like auditioning and getting a role and going through the rehearsals and then opening night, that whole process. I've been really hooked on that kind of whole chasing the dopamine, if you will. So it's kind of one of those things of like, okay, cool. Made it through high school, all the things. My entire life growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. Got to high school, I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. They get no respect. They don't get paid what they're worth. There's so many things with being a teacher where I'm just like, nah. So I was like, ooh,
sounds terrible.
You're right. I mean, mad respect to all the teachers. I have several clients that are teachers, and I hear some just nightmares. From students and parents and administration, like whatever. That could be a whole another podcast.
Yeah.
But I was like, ooh, I'm going to go to school be an actor. My parents were like, well, okay, let's get a real job here. And
I'm just going to shift your mic around. You keep talking.
Yeah. And my dad is self-employed, owns his own business. And I was like, well, fine, I'll just go to school for like business or something like that. My parents were like, well, no.
Hello.
My parents were like, no, find something that you're passionate about, that kind of stuff. And, senior year, I'd taken over the master bathroom. I was doing all my friends' hair and stuff for prom. And my mom's like, dude, I was like, I should go to school for hair and makeup. She's like, yes. So, I mean, it's kind of one of always been those things. I started doing hair. I love it. I've been doing hair now straight out of high school. So 18 years I've been doing here now. I've been fortunate enough to build a very successful business, very strong clientele. And when I get comfortable, I always have to find something new.
Okay.
So at one point, I'm an educator with the Schwarzkopf Professional USA team here in the US, which is a color company. And then I educated for them for a couple years. And then I auditioned to be part of their artistic team. So I made that. So it's kind of, I've just always had that nature of like, I have to keep moving the goalposts. You know, it's not necessarily, you know, I reach my goals, but it needs to be continuously moving goalposts because the feeling of being stagnant is just never been something. I've never been satisfied with like, it's always like, cool, I made it. Yes, celebrate at the next stop.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, totally. I can relate to that 100% because it's like, even as I like get closer to a goal, I like shift the goalpost almost immediately because I'm like, once I get there, I'm going to be comfortable. And then I'm going to be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? You know? So it's like, yeah, kind of so like, for example, when it comes to athletics or whatever, fitness, we'll like do all these qualifiers, right? So like, as we were getting up to the Monster Games, I was talking about like, I want to go to the actual CrossFit Games. I'm not even really concerned about the Monster Games anymore. I was, and then I got hurt and all this sad boy story stuff. But yeah, but I start like immediately thinking about the next thing because I'm like, all right, we're here. It's done. It's done in my head, right?
Yep.
And I think that is like a good indicator of like people who are successful because you just have this internal drive. Do you remember like being from like a super young age, you always being that way? Were you involved in like athletics as a kid and had that type of like feeling?
No, athletics was, I did track and field, I think in like 6th grade because I had to try some sport, but I've always been a music nerd, band, choir, musical theater, all like dance, you know, dance would have been like the extent of my athleticism.
Got it.
But it was like musical theater choreography. I didn't take like what I would consider like athletic dance. That wasn't my thing.
Okay.
But it was more so one of the things like when I had done the weight loss, I was like, I have to come up with a plan to be able to maintain this now.
Yeah.
You know, I know just eating healthy isn't going to get me there, but also as I get older, you need to gain strength. You need to strengthen yourself and that kind of stuff. So that's where I found running. And that's kind of when we did the first turkey trot. Also, I was like, it was coming up to the first of the year. So 2022, because we're in 23 now. I was like, all right, what are the goals for this year? What am I going to do? And I set a goal to run a half marathon in 22. And I did it in I did the Bruce City Marathon, which I think it was in March or something like that. And I was like, all right. So then I did another one, and then I did another one. And then I was setting goals for this year. And I was like, well, I did 3 half marathons last year.
That's a lot.
It was, but it's kind of one of those things.
But he's not an avid runner.
I'm not.
Yeah. What the fuck?
But once you train for one, you're trained, right? So it's just about maintaining that.
Were they
ability.
close together?
No, they were scattered out throughout the year.
Okay, so you just maintain fitness the entire time.
So then this year I was like, and all my clients that are runners, like, well, you've run a half marathon, you know your next goal is a full marathon, right? I was like, I don't want to run who wants to run a full marathon?
No one.
It's
Crazy
26.2 miles. So the first of the year, I was like, I guess that's the natural progression.
Yeah.
So I started searching, like, okay, what are the top 5 marathons in the country? Where are they? Blah, 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 whatever. And I ran Grandma's Marathon, which is up in Duluth, Minnesota.
Cool.
So it takes place middle of June, and I trained. I got injured, like I said, 4 weeks out, and that kind of sucked because I had to take 2 full weeks off from training at the very end. But I was able to get a few runs in before, and it was a beautiful run. You start north of Duluth, and you run all the way along Lake Superior, and then the whole second half is like through downtown Duluth, and it's like the runners are the parade. Like the people come out in droves, and the support was amazing. And I finished in 4.5 hours.
Wow.
Coming off an injury.
Yeah, that's good.
So, my initial goal was to finish under 4, which was a very ambitious first time marathon goal.
Yeah. Yep.
But
I'd say 4.5 is really good though for a first time.
Yeah. I mean, the average male marathon pace for my age is like 4 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. And those are like marathon runners.
Yeah.
People that run marathons.
Yeah.
So for my first one at 4.5 hours, it's like,
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super good.
But as soon as I was done with the marathon, I was like, all right, next goal. Like, what is our next goal? So
Sure.
we have our next one coming up in the beginning of November. And
Where's that one?
we're going down to Disney World.
No
So
way.
it's going to be, it's their wine and dine run weekend at Epcot. And we're doing the full weekend challenge, which is a 5K Friday, a 10K Saturday, and a half marathon on Sunday.
That's awesome. I've heard of this. It sounds really cool.
So that's what we're training for now. And
Sweet.
I'll just, my husband comes along. He doesn't love running like I do. I have a feeling after the Disney run, he might be done. We'll see.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it keeps me going. I find it very meditative and relaxing, actually. And I find when I don't run, I'm a little more anxious and a little more stressed.
Dude, that runner's high thing, I was training for a marathon a long time ago, and I was like, God, runners are fucking nuts.
Yeah.
This, but it's a bucket list thing. Like eventually I have to do it. But I remember I hit my first ever, I think 8-mile run, and it was like at 5 miles, I was like out, just total flow state. And then when I got home, I was like, damn, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why people fucking do this shit,
Yeah.
The long ones though, like running short periods of time, like even like 5K is like, it's too short to get that stimulus from it. And it's like, it sucks the entire time. But like, it's somewhere between the 4 and 5 mile mark where you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Because I mean, with the short runs, like the hard part is you're barely warmed up by the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So those longer runs, like it's when I'm doing my training runs, stuff like that, and we live in Jackson, so I'm running the sidewalks around, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like the first couple of miles, it's very repetitive for me. So I'm just like, oh, here we go. And then finally you kind of settle into your pace, and it's like, okay, now we'll do this one more time. Like once you're all warmed up and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the thing. That the runner's high is definitely real.
Yeah.
And it's not, for me, it's not like this like euphoric high feeling. It is actually kind of more of like a zoned out, you just kind of are doing it. And then all of a sudden, my watch gives me my updates every mile. And all of a sudden I was like, oh damn, that was a really fast mile. It didn't feel like I tried very hard. Those kinds of things where it's like, then you're in the groove. And I'm a runner with music, so I tend to zone out to the music.
Nice. Yeah. With your hair business, how do you continue to shift the goalposts with that? How do you not stay stagnant in business?
I'm battling with that right now, actually.
Okay.
It's hard. I'm an independent stylist, so I work in my own suite, and I have a set clientele. I get the occasional new client and stuff like that, which is usually a referral from an existing client. So that's, the excitement there. But my clientele really, they're the ones that kind of create and mold my days. My clients are very much up for doing different things. A lot of my clients come in and they're like, I'm like, what are we doing today? Then like, I don't know, TJ, what are you up for doing today? And I was like, okay, all right. So I'm driving this boat today. Got it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. How many colors have you made my hair?
I mean,
different colors over the years.
You've kind of spanned the spectrum here, but it's a lot of my clients. And I found that as a struggle when I would like have to be out of the salon, like when I had my car accident.
Yeah.
And I came back. The number one thing I heard from a lot of my clients was, the girls that were covering for me would be like, all right, what are we doing today? And my clients would be like, oh, I don't know. I just sit down in the chair and TJ does my hair.
Yep. That's me. I'm that girl.
So it's like, some of my clients really rely on me and stuff like that so that alone, like I have to stay fresh. So that alone is driving, but it's real easy to get in the rut of like, are we doing the same retouch we've done for the last 10 years? Cool. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Great mantra, but also a mantra to really that you can get stuck in a rut sometimes with it. So
you think it's kind of more dependent on like your clientele?
Yeah, I mean clientele, also like education. The fashion and beauty industry is always changing, literally every single day. So you have to stay. I think you have to stay educated, take a lot of education. And nowadays with social media, digital platforms, things like that, there's so many classes and things you can take on YouTube or even just scrolling TikTok or Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels, whatever. I mean, you can watch a minute clip and be like, I never thought to do that. You can, you can learn something that fast if you are open to being educated. So, I mean, when I'm teaching, there are a lot of salons where I go into and I'm teaching stylists that have been in the industry for sometimes decades and realize that it's some of the basics that they've forgotten that we need to revisit to move them forward type thing. So staying educated and being an educator is kind of a revolving thing. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit, because you had like a transition of like working with a bunch of girls to now you're all by yourself, like kind of what that was like, and maybe pros, cons, and
Yeah, I mean, I was managing a salon, and I really loved the team that I was working with. It was really an opportunity to be a mentor for new stylists. It's a very social interaction. You know, whether it's you just talking about hair, talking about industry, but also just talking about life. You know, the thing is, a salon atmosphere is very social. You know, I was friends with a lot of other stylist clients, you know, things like that. My clients knew all the other stylists. Like, it was just an open conversation kind of atmosphere. You know, they talk about the barbershop atmosphere, you know, guys go to the barbershop, hang out all day for the social interaction.
Yeah.
But post car accident, coming back from that, I needed to be able to not only focus on myself and my self healing and things like that, but also be able to give my clients as much attention and energy as I had left. So I was leaving work very depleted. It was hard for me to focus on my healing, manage a salon, manage staff, all the things that come with that, focus on my clients, focus on other ancillary things going on in the background, that kind of stuff. So going into the solo suite setup allowed me to do that. I could set things up how I needed to be able to function most efficiently, but also be able to give my clients 100% of my attention without any kind of distractions and things like that, which was the driving force for that. Now, having been in my solo suite and by myself since 2019, so that's 4 years, 4.5 years, it's different now because I'm healed. You know, I've made my own self change and stuff like that. So now sometimes I do miss the social aspect of having a lot of busyness around you. But I find as I get older, I don't enjoy the distractions as much as I perhaps once did. And hearing some of the crazy stories, you know,
some drama,
you know, because you work with a bunch of people that are creative beings, and creative beings are very high energy people to begin with. I mean, you put a bunch of hairstylists whenever you go to a convention.
they were all female. You were the only male.
They were all female. I was the only
So
male.
he's trying to get around.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go there.
I'll go there. Yeah, I'll go
Justin will go there.
there. Yeah, I just didn't know if we were good to do that.
Yeah, they were all girls.
When you work with a lot
the
of
only
bitches,
male.
that's what happens, man. No, I'm just kidding.
You know,
but yeah.
but I was like the older, but other than me and the owner, they were all in their early 20s, fresh out of beauty school, living the life, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, they come in Saturday morning and I was like, have you slept in the last 36 hours? You know, those kinds of things. Like,
There's something
you had a
different
rough
about
night
hairstylists.
last night.
Yeah, the hairstylists are different, dude.
You know, I mean, and I talk to my clients all the time. It's like, because my 20s were no different. Like,
Yeah.
I was in a salon. I worked part-time for a karaoke company. So I was working, you know, till bar close.
Well, I didn't know that you worked for a karaoke
Oh my
company.
God. Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah.
That's how my husband and I met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because you just rock at karaoke.
Yeah. I mean, we both. Yeah,
Oh,
he's a singer.
okay.
Yeah, he's actually a published recording artist. He's working on his 3rd album. Yeah,
Wow,
I mean,
okay, cool.
but he also
I
works in the
didn't know
medical field. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's why I think of you as the eye guy.
Yeah, the eye guy. He's an ophthalmologist.
Wow,
That's his
interesting.
real job.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Milano Breeze, all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, all the things.
Okay, I always wondered about that. I don't know why I've never asked you until right now, but like on social media when you tag Milano Breeze, I'm like, what is happening? I'm so confused.
Yeah. So. So we have, other than our whole professional thing, we both are performers.
Sweet.
So I did drag for over a decade, and I still do it very rarely now. But I mean, I did the whole pageantry circuit. I was a state title holder, national title holder, traveled, all the things.
See, I told you I thought he was high up in the drag world.
I have-
I'm pretty sure he did some stuff in the drag.
I don't even know what the
Yeah.
fuck that means.
Explain it to us in the layman's terms.
Wait.
Like, is
First,
it
I
like-
got another question first
okay.
before we get to the drag stuff, because that can be like a whole different section of the podcast, I'm sure. So, real quick, going back to the salon stuff, the hairstyle stuff.
Yeah.
because I find myself like this too, but I fancy myself a pretty boy, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't
Clearly, though, this is your look 99% of the time.
yeah. So I don't let anybody touch my hair.
Yeah.
I don't I only have one girl that touches my hair.
Yeah,
Kiana,
yeah.
what's up? She's the only person that does my eyebrows.
Yeah.
She'll like touch up my beard a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise I do my beard, or I used to go to a barbershop back in the day, but
But he won't get it trimmed, by the way.
well, because
His hair.
here's a fact. Here's a fact. I don't let white people touch my beard.
Okay.
And I'm not willing at this point to drive to Milwaukee, because it's too far.
Fair.
I don't have white people just don't know how to do.
I'm not talking about your
facial hair.
beard. I'm talking about your hair. You haven't had your hair trimmed.
Oh, I don't. That's for Jesus. That's not for any other reason. I'm just kidding.
So that's the look you're going for. Got it.
Yeah. I got to be kind of a dirty hippie, but also a little bit pretty. Anyway, what is it about hairstylists that get people you're the only, because you heard her in the beginning, you're the only person. You're the only person,
that is a good
and
question.
I even think that I would fly to you because. For me as a trainer, by profession, I know why people stick with me. And it's it has to do with, I know their body, or I make them feel a certain way about themselves. We emotionally connect because I'm the person that they trust to give them the results in the gym. And then, they trust me like that. What is it, do you think about hair stylists that do you think it's the same thing?
Yeah. So two things I'll touch on. So answer the question first. Yes, very much that. I get very possessive over my client's hair.
Okay. That's good.
Because hair is an art form. It's artistic, especially when you're starting to deal with color and stuff like that. I mean, now you're dealing with chemicals and all the different things. Anytime I have a new client come in, I'm like, hey, first of all, it's a really long consultation. You have to get hair history. What are goals? What are we looking at? Can we accomplish this in one visit? Is this going to be a goal of 4 appointments? Is this a 6-month goal? Whatever that looks like. And you're building that relationship right off the bat.
Wow.
And then I have to get to know their hair. So that one appointment isn't going to tell me everything I need to know about their hair. How does their hair react to heat? How does it react to chemicals? How does it, those kinds of things. So it's definitely very much a relationship building. And
Sounds like a science.
there's a lot of science involved, but also as a person coming in, as a client coming in, if you're looking for a new stylist, chances are you're leaving a not so great experience or a mediocre experience or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
So now I have to provide them with the best experience they can have. So you have the stress of oh shoot, now I have to undo whatever's been done, whatever trauma has experienced, because that happens easily when it comes to hair. But also as a client, your hair is your security blanket. It goes with you everywhere. You don't take it off. You can't, it's not like changing your shirt because it didn't fit right. If you get a bad haircut,
You're stuck
at the
with
well
it.
for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So it's a huge trust thing. And once a client finds a stylist that this just feels right, that's it. That's the end. But I will also say my men clientele, because I do a lot of men clientele, and a lot of them started off as significant others of existing clients, or just my first salon was right near UWM in Milwaukee, so I got a lot of college guys and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great.
Guys are significantly more loyal to a hairstylist than a female ever will be.
Really?
Yep. Because
I feel like I could see that.
because women fancy change.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's all right, cool. Oh, my best friend got their hair done. It looks great. I'm going to go try their person, that kind of thing. Whereas once a guy finds someone that cuts their hair and gives them exactly what that's it. That is a marriage through and through. If I leave on vacation and I have appointments, I'm like, hey, we need to shift your appointment. Can we shift it out an extra week? My guys, 90% of the time will be well, can we shift it up a week versus shifting it out a week? And
I do that all the time.
It's I'm coming back. I promise. They're no, I know.
Yeah.
But I'd rather shorten the window than lengthen the window.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, guys.
I'll go 2 weeks in a row if that's the case.
I have a good handful of guys that are every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Just because
that's
they
me.
like a good, high and tight, crisp fade. We don't touch the top. We don't shampoo them every time. But if they want a crisp cut. But yeah, otherwise my guys, I have some guys that will book out their entire year every 4 weeks, Thursday at 5.
Wow.
And that's just how that works. And
Yeah.
But then also we know far enough in advance, if they need to reschedule or shift it, or I need to shift it or whatever. It's not hey, next week, sorry, we got to move it. It's hey, your third appointment in 4 months, I'm going to be out of town. It's just easy. But guys are guys are real loyal. So when you're like, you got your girl, I was like, yeah, I bet you do. Like, that's just how that works.
Yeah. There's only been like, I think I've only ever had like 2 consistent like hairstylists, and one I stopped going to her. She's like one of my best friends. Only reason I stopped going to her is because she moved to Oak Creek, and I'm like, I can't pay for you to drive to me every other week, you know, and I don't want to like come to you every other week. So then the girl that I go to now, she's right in Oconomowoc. It's not that far of a drive. And yeah, I go every 2 weeks. I would go every week if I could, but she doesn't want me to come every week.
She's had 2 babies recently, so there's a couple of hiccups.
Dude, and that was so bad because like, no offense, Charlotte, nothing's wrong with your haircuts or anything like that. But it's like your stylist knows your hair.
Yeah.
Like your cut, like you were saying, you know? So like when I sat down in her chair, she's like, what do you want? I'm like, I think I get like a 0 to a 2 or something. I'm like, I have no idea, you know? And then she's like, okay, Kiana kind of clued me in. And then it wasn't the same. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same,
it's
you know?
Yeah, because that's a real thing. Like going back to like when, you know, my clients are like, I don't know, what do you want to do? You know, I know my clients that are open for change. Because we do something different every time. And then I have my clients that we do the same thing all the time. And every once in a while, they'll throw me a curveball. I'll be like, let's do something different. I'm like, whoa, wait, pump the brakes. Okay. First of all, let's address a couple things. What happened? Make sure there's not like exterior contributing factors.
Like a breakup or something?
Right, exactly. You know, if someone that's never had bangs, like, hey, let's do bangs. I'm like, oh, who hurt you? Also, we're not doing this because I'm going to get a phone call in a week going, you ruined my life. Like, we're not doing this. So it, you know, but it's nice though when the clients that are like do the same thing all the time, I'm saying like, hey, let's do something different. I'm like, oh, okay. Let me switch gears in my brain here and be like, where are we going? You know, more often than not, they have ideas or pictures or whatever to like guide it. But sometimes they're like, I don't know, whatever you want. I was like, okay, do a Google image search. Because I'm a visual person. Most people are visual. So it's like, okay, how does something like this feel? And it's either yay or nay. Or I like to set my boundaries like, oh, we're going to go red. They're like, no, I've never been red. Do you think that? I'm like, well, no, but I'm just setting how far can we wander from where you're at. So. But change can be fun. Yeah,
that's cool. It's a nice place to be when you know that people just trust you that much to make a good decision for them, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of stress, but it's fun to be like, all right, I'm the professional in this situation. You know, I can't tell you how many times people come in when all these young people on social media and these new trending words and like, can we do a wolf cut? And I was like, what is a wolf cut? Yeah. And I'm like, so first thing I do, go to Instagram, search #wolf cut. I was like, oh, it's an overly textured shag haircut. Got it. Okay, cool. And they're like, no, a wolf cut. I was like, sure, same thing. Call it what you want. Fundamentally, I know what it is and I can execute it.
You're an old millennial.
I mean, born in 86, I'm not really like an elder millennial, but I definitely feel like...
I feel like I'm an old millennial in
88. Elder millennial.
Elder millennial.
That's kind of like, it seems like it's almost the same as like tattoos, like tattoo artists or whatever. The like people come in with their terminology for tattoos, but there's always been like tattoo artists have their, their language that they speak in, but then like kids, like, is it Generation Z? Is that
Gen Z after us?
Yeah. Gen Z, yeah. They like have these weird terms for sleeves and shit, and I'm like, it's a fucking sleeve.
Yeah, right.
And if you go
you're covering your arm because it's a sleeve,
right? And if you go into a tattoo artist who's like my age or older, they're gonna fuck it up just on purpose because you're an idiot,
right? Because now they're annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the same with, can I do a unicorn haircut? I was like, what the hell is a unicorn haircut?
Right,
so again, I'm looking at videos and I was like, it's the Farrah Fawcett 70s shag haircut. No, that's not. I was like, that's exactly what it is.
Like, look,
stop making.
I've been around longer than you. Yeah, it's like almost insulting.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Really. I think of everything from a technical standpoint. So it's like, because if someone wants a haircut, it's like, okay, how am I technically going to execute this type thing? So it's like, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the watermelon haircut. I don't care, but I got to be able to visually see it so I can know how to technically execute it, kind of thing. But every month is a new term, and I'm just like, right now is the cowboy copper color. It's a brown copper. Like, cool, got it. I don't know why it's cowboy copper, but it is.
Weird. Yeah, that's the age that we live in, the TikTok and Instagram real age. They got to come up with shit just to like catch eyes.
Well, and it's whatever's driving the new algorithms and the new traffic and stuff like that. So I get so annoyed looking at hashtags, and I'm like, the hashtag doesn't even apply to the video, but you used it to drive the algorithm and traffic and.
Yeah.
a whole nother business.
Yeah, we're into that. We're trying
You
to
have
figure
to.
it out.
You have to in the social
I have
media
no
world.
idea how hashtags work. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Even,
Oh, it's a whole categorization and organization thing, and it's a thing.
It changes like weekly.
Literally.
It's crazy. Yeah, if you like listen to the Instagram CEO,
Yeah.
it's like literally always changing. It's so stupid because if you don't already have 500K to 1 million followers, growth on these platforms is so freaking tough. That's why we have to show our feet in a YouTube podcast.
Yeah, it's the market is so saturated and so diluted.
Yeah.
It's like you have to find your niche. If it's feet, fine, and just run with it.
All right. Speaking of niches, now we'll get into it because I don't know this world at all. I don't understand it. So excuse me if I'm like volatile or something with it.
No.
The drag thing. What? And I don't mean to call it a thing either. I just literally have no clue. You said that you did state and all these fucking things. I don't know what that means. Clue me in a little bit.
Toddlers, toddlers and tiaras, pageantry.
yeah.
Kind of.
Pageant.
A little
Pageant.
Pageants, like pageants.
Yeah, but you could if you would talk to me about a pageant, I wouldn't even know what goes into it. Like I just know that
Okay.
there's these things where people walk on stage. That's it.
So it's just like any other competition. I mean, there's categories, and
Yeah.
there's big. It's
Like a bodybuilding show.
yeah, sure. So I started doing drag. So again, I started doing musical theater as a kid. As I got into being an adult and building a career, you work a lot of nights in the hair industry. I couldn't do a lot of musical theater, rehearsal schedules, that kind of thing. For me, it started as Halloween 2009. I was like, I'm going to go in drag because what homosexual hasn't done drag at least once in their life? A lot of straight guys have done it too, just for funsies. And it was terrible. I mean, I looked terrible. I was a boy in a dress. It was so bad. But it was fun. I was a boy in a dress.
Hold on real quick. Since you say that, this question pops up.
Yeah.
What is the point of drag then?
So drag literally starts, drag has been around since Shakespearean times.
Okay.
And drag in like manuscripts and stuff like that, drag stood for dressed as girl. Because females,
wow.
females
I did
were
not
not
know that.
allowed to be in theater. Females were not allowed to be in prominent performance roles. Females were not allowed. They were in the background. They were, that was just society then.
Damn right.
So only men were actors and performers. So
Yeah.
drag was dressed as girl. So it would be a male dressed as a female to play a female character.
Wow, I
So
didn't
that
know
was
that.
I
like,
didn't either.
that's like OG drag.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So for me personally, it's a performance outlet. It's a theater outlet.
Okay.
It was a way to do all of that without having to commit to rehearsal schedules and be committed to a larger group of people. Just me, one, whatever. Obviously had a performance background, that kind of stuff. So that wasn't, for me, it's just another costume, just a different kind of costume. Started doing some shows at the local gay bars and stuff like that in Milwaukee and different things. And then I started to find out about pageantry and competitions. And because I'm such a competitive nature, and again, pushing myself and moving myself forward, a quick way to accelerate your career in the community was to do pageantry. If you wanted to be known, have more booking opportunities, higher booking fees, that kind of stuff, you would compete and get a title, and then that would kind of go around with you for a year. So there are big competitions. Wisconsin, the biggest one is Miss Gay Wisconsin US of A, which is a big state title, which goes on to a national competition held down in Dallas, Texas. And there's preliminaries. So that was my first one. I competed for a preliminary, then competed at state, won state, went on to nationals, competed at nationals, and I think I finished like 13th or 14th out of like 37 competitors nationally.
Wow.
But then there was one competition. I went down to Florida in Orlando and competed and won that one. And then I traveled the entire country for a whole year.
That's crazy.
So, so there's personal interview, which is basically something like this. It's the contestant, the panel of judges, which is anywhere from 5 to 7 people for like 5 to 7 minutes. And it's just a get to know you kind of thing. And then there's evening gown, talent, sometimes some other smaller categories, but those are usually the big three. And it's all about, how well do you communicate? Do you have talent? Can you put yourself together, as in a look and stuff like that? And then you're just goal is to be the best of the best. So
What?
So is it?
I have so many questions.
I do too, actually, because like
I'm an open book.
there's the whole political thing that's going on with like the drag and
It's a
everything,
very real thing.
and we don't have to like talk much about that. But what throws me off now is that like it seems like drag isn't different from a bodybuilding show almost, right? Because it's like you referred to it as a costume,
Yeah.
which is interesting to me because like I don't think that like the Trump Republican guys look at it as like there are these people in costumes. They're like
Right.
the gay people are after my kids or whatever. But like the way that you're describing it seems like it's literally a competition for something.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Which is so, and I never knew that. I'm like I said, I'm totally ignorant towards it. And not that I think the other view either, but it's just like, it's interesting because it seems like, cause the bodybuilding thing to me is also like, I did it, but I still don't get it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I did it because I'm an ultra competitive person too. So I'm
Sure.
like, how many things can I win?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, that the drag thing, my other question real quick.
But also, not everyone does pageantry. Just put that out. Some people
Okay.
just do shows and use it as a performance outlet.
So I was going to ask about that too. My second question though about it is, you said it was Miss Gay what?
Miss Gay Wisconsin, US of A.
Okay. Do straight dudes do this?
I mean, if they want it, there's no one saying, there's no rules saying they couldn't.
Right.
If they want, it's,
Yeah.
the general rules are, either need to be born male or born female or whatever, that kind of, those kind of rules. But as far as like orientation, like that's a you thing. I mean, there have been heterosexual males that have competed. Now, I mean, you're going to deal with a different kind of pushback, because the gay community kind of holds it close to their heart.
Like this is their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that they're not welcome, but like if you need to treat it accordingly, if
Yeah.
you are going to compete and stuff like that, then you need to be an out loud, avid ally, those kinds of things.
Not behind or in the closet.
Correct.
type of thing.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of people that will say like, oh my gosh, I'm super supportive. I love the LGBT plus community, all these kinds of things. But then when it comes to actually rallying and supporting the community, when it comes to either political issues or things like that, all of a sudden they're quiet. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, cool, great. I'm glad you saying you support me made you feel better. But now what are you doing to actually support me and the entire community kind of thing? Because the entire community is very much under fire because so many things are used as political ammo, whether or not it's actually applicable or even relevant.
Right. Yeah.
Buzzwords, fire, where, those kinds of
Totally.
things. Like,
Yeah. The performance aspect of it, opposed to the competitive aspect. What's the deal with that? What's the difference?
I mean, some people just like to perform. They just like an outlet to perform.
What's the performance aspect of it?
So, I mean, there you can go almost anywhere nowadays. I mean, drag bingos are really popular. There's a place in Milwaukee called Hamburger Mary's where they do shows Friday night, Saturday night, brunches on Sunday.
We went there. Yeah.
I've never been to Hamburger Mary's.
No, we went there. My birthday, the Pedal Tavern. We went to Hamburger Mary's.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Pedal Tavern? Just checking.
Yeah.
That was the last time I drank.
Oh, okay.
A year and a half ago.
But yeah, so I mean, just performance is just a show. I mean, some people sing live, some people lip sync, some people dance, some people, you get dressed up, you do 2 or 3 numbers for a show, and some people just live the show director life and do shows. For me, it was the competitive aspect.
Sure.
I want an award. I want my crown. And some of my crowns are 12 inches and heavy crystal crown. I mean, I have a tote full of just crystal crowns.
Yeah.
But there's investment that goes into competition. I mean,
Yeah, it's expensive probably.
competition gowns easily are thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's for one article of clothing that you're going to wear on stage for maybe 2 minutes.
Yep.
Talent. I mean, for my big competitions, I would have 4 to 6 backup dancers. Well, now I have to costume me. I have to costume my backup dancers. I have to pay them for their time. For traveling, pay for their travel. Like, I mean, when I went to nationals, I was probably easily 10 grand.
Is there
Do you
money?
get do you get paid if you win?
Yeah, I mean, there's a prize package. That's going to offset the $10,000.
Yeah. See, this reminds me so much of bodybuilding. I'm not even joking because it's like you have to train for it, and it sounds like you have to practice
Yeah.
for it. and then you're spending all this money on like for bodybuilding it would be like food and gym memberships, supplements, and then for you it would be like the gown and stuff.
Yeah.
And then for bikini women, their suits are literally thousands of dollars as well.
Sure.
And then you get on
Which is always crazy because you know how much fabric is in a swimsuit. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And then you get on stage for like the 20 minutes that you get to be on stage and it's over. And the only reason why people do it is for like this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I need to win this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
And it's interesting that you say that now because I don't compete in drag pageants anymore, but it's probably because I'm running. And as free as running is, to run races and stuff like that, it's expensive.
It's travel.
It's travel, up. Shoes, fuels, you know, training, all the things. Like that's where my money goes now. But I get a pretty medal when I cross the finish line.
Yeah.
Again, I want my award. I'm a millennial. I want my participation award. Dang it.
that medal costs hundreds of dollars, but it feels good when you get it.
Sure does.
Yeah.
I look at my wall of hanger, my hanger on the wall with all of my medals and my husband's medals up there. I'm like, damn, we did that.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, I used to be over 300 pounds. Like, it's just, I need that visual reminder to keep myself in check because it's really easy to just let it go.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have more questions about the drag? Because to be honest, I do.
I'm here.
You're gonna let me ask one? Is that how it's
Yeah.
My main question was.
He's gonna make you pull up pictures now after I leave.
I can put it for the thumbnail.
Yeah, why not?
Let me restart this camera quick.
The talent portion is what my question is about.
Yeah.
So does everybody sing and dance or are people like doing like acrobatics or
Sounds like they
what
have
is
their own
that
thing.
part?
Yeah, I mean the goal is you have to depending upon the pageantry systems are scored differently. Some are comparative scoring, some are just a cumulative scoring. So especially if you're competing in like a comparative scoring, you have to make yourself stand out because you obviously want the highest amount of points available. So, if everyone's going to be a dancer, well, okay, what are you going to do to stand out? How are you going to make that different? For me, I'm not a dancer. I can rehearse choreography, that kind of stuff. But my background has always been musical theater, so that's where I always go. I am fortunate enough to also have the capability of singing. So my last couple competitions that I've done, I do a really mean live Poor Unfortunate Souls, Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, nice.
So it's about finding your niche. There are people that'll play instruments. There are people that will play do different things, comedy, whatever it's a true talent. But baton twirling.
Okay.
I mean, all that kind of stuff. Because the thing is, the more unique it is, the less the judges are going to know about it likely. And you're going to score higher because there's going to be less for them to clock on it, Yeah. If you're going to dance the house down and lip sync a number, a lot of people do that. So you're going to be compared to a lot of different people and they're going to be able to pick that apart a lot easier. Also the more people you got on stage with you, that all affects your scores too, because they're all being scored and judged just as much as you are. So if your backup dancers are screwing up or whatnot, you're going to get clocked on that and that's going to affect your overall score. So I try, as much as I can, I try to make it me, standout talent. If I need some backup to enhance the performance, great. But if they're not necessary, do it on your own. Solo talents can really kill sometimes. In a good way.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. It's like, so I don't know. It's interesting to me because it's so, would it be adjacent to bodybuilding or it's like almost like so
parallel.
similar. Yeah, parallel because they have like, they each get their own time to go on stage and do like a little performance. And most times it's like a flex show, and they're like, but some dudes
weird.
like do acrobatics. It's super weird. Sometimes they do acrobatics. They'll do like backflips and like the splits and stuff. But sometimes dudes are just putting together a routine where they're just like flowing from, it looks like a dance from like one pose to another. So really interesting how similar those two are.
Yeah, I mean,
Brandon.
It's crazy how much there are a lot of parallels there.
Yeah. Okay. So then, with all that, what do you think about like the political standing of it all? Where do you sit with that?
I mean, it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
What is
Yeah.
the
Well, so
We'll get it
drag-
from his perspective.
So drag is really under fire right now. Specifically, something that had became really popular was like drag story time. So I mean, like public libraries are bringing in drag queens to read children's books to kids, and things like that. And that specifically is like, there are a lot of other things there. The transgender community is really under attack and straight up just being killed. And there's a lot of different things, but specifically with drag, political figures are saying, they don't want their kids exposed to this sexualized, profane, community, thing. They use all these terrible words, when in reality, like it's drag queen story time, right? As a professional, if I'm hired to do a drag queen story time and I'm going to a public library or whatever, I'm not wearing the same thing I would wear at 1 a.m. in a nightclub dealing with severely intoxicated human beings, right?
Yeah.
But to them, everything is washed and is all equal and all the same, which is part of the problem. So they're saying, that they don't want the kids exposed to all this kind of stuff. Well, they're not in a nightclub at 1 a.m. It's noon on a Sunday in a library, getting library books read to them. These are average children's books that you can find at the library, find in their public schools, private schools, whatever. It's the golden books, the Dr. Seuss books, but it's these are also the same people getting Dr. Seuss canceled and things like that. So it's frustrating and exhausting, but also terrifying, because it's being part of a minority group, being part of the LGBT community. You already feel there's already an uneasiness, as far as like safety goes and things like that. Just being out in public, where we live, generally speaking, is a very conservative area. When we lived in Milwaukee's not a conservative area, but it's also not necessarily the safest area for other reasons. So it's like, you pick your battles. I fortunately have never had anyone like aggressively come at me or attack me or anything like that, even with words, even at a young age. I mean, I was out in high school. I came out somewhere between like my sophomore and junior year of high school, and everyone was like, yeah, no crap. And I was like, wait, what?
I didn't hide that.
Like, I had all the anxiety and the weight of the world on my shoulders. And when you tell the first person, you're like, oh, I think I'm gay, that weight is instantly lifted off. And their response is, yeah, thank you. Took you long enough, kind of thing. So I've always been very self-confident and self-aware and things like that. So I think a lot of how you carry yourself also, I'd like to see someone try and mess with me.
I was going to say that. I agree. I bet no one's messed with you because you're very confident.
Yeah.
Like,
but not in a like,
no, I'm going to beat you up way. Yeah.
well, but not,
you're just like,
but not like in a narcissistic way. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, you have confidence in
yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
But as a community, being a small community that is easy to attack, and because we've been under attack, this isn't anything new. It's just a new battle, the current battle, and it's just kind of it being an easy target. They will always find something, and it's exhausting. It's very exhausting.
What do you think?
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does. What's like? I like, because I just can't find the words for it. What do you think the idea is behind having a drag story time instead of just like a story time?
I mean, it's just exposure. You know, kids don't look at a drag queen and go, well, that's a man, Maury. Like, that's not what kids, it's about just having a fun time. Also now, because of exposure to digital, I mean, kids at a very young age are glued to tablets and phones and YouTube and things like that. Kids nowadays are very self-aware at a much younger age. Yeah. People ask all the time, well, when do you think you knew that you were gay? Like, well, I don't know when I knew I was gay, but let me tell you, I knew when I thought boys were pretty at a young age, that kind of thing. But it's having that exposure for kids to know, like, hey, this is okay too. If it resonates with one person in that audience, that was a successful event. If a child who is questioning anything, gender, sexuality, existence, whatever. I feel like kids nowadays deal with a lot of stress and anxiety unnecessarily just from society. If they can see that performer, individual, entertainer, and be like, this is okay, and resonate with that, that was a successful event. So it's just about the exposure and being like, hey, normal people, it's okay. These people exist in the world. You don't have to feel alone, you know, and being that source for, you know, if that kid then sees that library as a safe space, that's an amazing thing, you know, or whatever space they're in type thing.
Yeah.
You know,
one thing that like I have questions about with it, and it's not the nature of drag at all. It has nothing to do with that, because to be honest with you, as a straight dude that has never experienced that at all, I think more so where the uproar comes from is like people are insecure with how they are and like the way that they feel that they can raise their kids, and they don't want other people to have influence because they don't have enough influence on their kids. Type thing. So I don't think it's a problem with drag. I think it's a problem with the parents, you know, because there are going to be the kids that eventually become transgender or gay or want to do drag, or the straight kids or the nerds, the cool kids, whatever, you know, all the different things. So,
and the thing is, if that's the case, if that's how you, as a parent, if that's how you feel about your kids, you don't want them to expose to that. The people that are fighting these things aren't the ones taking their kids to a drag queen story time.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
Then it's a mute point. Like,
like just don't take them.
I agree.
You know, I mean, these events are obviously being successful because they're popping up everywhere, right? Why is it a bad thing?
I can totally agree with your point. I think where it comes is like they're concerned about other people's kids because it's not the way that they would do things personally.
Sure.
Which is, to me, again, a mute point too, because it's like, why the fuck do you care? Like, do what you have to do in your own house. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Well, and that, I mean, and that, and I don't know if I'm going to go there. A lot of it is religion based. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But the whole point of separation of church and state, so why are we doing that? But anyways, but you know, if you don't want your kids to be exposed to that kind of thing, then it is up to you as an adult to make sure that your child is not exposed to that. You have every right to make that decision. What you don't have a right to do, in my opinion, is to make laws to say that nobody has access to that.
I think you're right, 100%. Speaking from like totally like political side and like, you know, and
now you're controlling how other people raise their kids.
Yeah, 1000%. Because I also think too, like if you don't want them exposed to drag, then they probably shouldn't be exposed to porn either, or they shouldn't be exposed to like many things that you consider to not be good, right? If it's like the religious people, right? They don't like drag, they don't like porn, they don't like all those things. So then just get rid of their fucking phone, lock them inside, you know, make sure that they're not exposed to the world in general, you know. And like I said, I think it's more of a parenting issue than it is anything else.
And I mean, and you can go real broad with it too. I mean, if drag is the concern, having your child exposed to drag because of whatever, if it's the gender bending, whatever it may be. Okay. So then we're not exposing our children to mascots. We're not exposing our children to, oh gosh, I don't know, Ronald McDonald. We're not exposing, you know, I mean, the list can go on forever. And being a child of the 90s, you know, we had Mrs. Doubtfire, we had Tootsie, we had, you know, how many movies that had these critically acclaimed actors in drag, these movies win awards and all these different things, and it was okay. But now here we are, fast forward to 2023, when we're supposed to be more advanced, more moving the needle forward, and all of a sudden now we're back in the 50s or wherever you want to go with it. You know, it's just so weird that like, which direction are we moving here and why? It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's an interesting perspective, interesting view.
I didn't know this whole thing about the story time.
Yeah, I think
Don't Google it. It'll turn into a black hole real fast.
It will. Like the more extreme things that I have seen haven't been like I've seen the story time thing, and I'm kind of like, for me, I'm like, I wouldn't care if like my kid got read a book by a dude dressed up like a girl. Like that doesn't bother me. The same way it wouldn't bother me if there was like a girl dressed up as a guy reading the story. I think it just honestly makes like men who are not masculine uncomfortable because they're just not masculine enough in themselves or like confident enough in themselves to like think I don't know. It's like a whole rabbit hole for me. The thing that I've seen is like that people have a problem with, and I would have a problem with this, by the way, if it was a guy or a girl. If it was like, you know, like
because drag the other way does exist, females that dress as men too.
Yeah. So, but just like somebody half naked in front of my child. Period.
That's totally
yeah,
absolutely.
So, but it doesn't matter if it's someone in drag or if it's like someone who's straight to me.
Right.
It's like, just
you don't
get
do
the vagina
that.
out of my kid's face or the dick out of my kid's face. Like, period.
And that's the crazy thing is because with the political side, it's obviously being heavily sexualized. Like that's their driving force.
That's the only part they focus on.
Correct. Yeah. Because it's the easiest one.
Yeah.
You know, that's their easy argument. But I mean, one of my dear friends, Watertown, Wisconsin, very conservative area, had a pride. They hosted the main stage. It was like a Sunday afternoon event in the park. Awesome. There was a group of neo-Nazis protesting there.
Really?
With flags, dressed in ski masks, all black, all you could see with their eyes. Like, I mean, it was crazy. I'm like, 2023, why is this a thing?
When did this happen?
2 or 3 months ago. 2 months ago? Oh, yeah. I'll send you the link. It was all over the local news. It was crazy.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
We don't literally never watch the news.
I really try not to.
There's too much shit in there. It
I
gets
can't.
me in a bad mood.
Me too.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's happening in our backyard. And it's like, why is this still a thing? So it's just crazy. You know, people...
I mean, those are literally hateful people that want to kill people.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And the things that they were yelling and chanting. And again, this was a Sunday in a park with families.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, you know, and I mean, there were police there. They kept it very... they kept it as civil as they could. You know, the police were very there, supportive for the event, you know. And it was just kind of one of those things where it was just like, here we are, still fighting this fight. And it's just because people have been emboldened with social media, and I call them keyboard warriors. You know, people that can just go to town behind a screen, and then eventually that's going to bleed over into their life. And it's like, wait, you're not behind a screen anymore, right? Like this, you said that out loud to a person in public, like that's not okay. But
yeah, you're actually seeing more and more of that as live streaming is getting real popular. So they're like taking big DSLR cameras like this one, and they're like going around to different towns, and like it's even the racist like people online or whatever, and they're saying they're like dumb shit out, and they're like actually getting beat up. It's like, no shit, fuckface.
Yeah,
like, you're saying
you
it
can't
in
just
real
say that.
life. Like, yeah, so like you can say the N-word on a keyboard or like even behind your screen, but just don't show up outside because it's gonna catch up to you. It's karma, dude. It's karmic debt. You know,
it's absolutely crazy how emblazoned some of these people feel.
Have you ever had any sort of hate towards being gay or transgender?
No.
Not transgender. What is it? Drag. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
No, fortunately. I mean, people are always going to make their petty, ignorant comments, uneducated comments and things like that. And it's just, I've never been one to fuel that fire.
Yeah.
So it's like, cute for you. Glad you feel that way. Move along. Like I've just never... I will not feed into it. So aside from that, fortunately, I've always been very blessed to have a very supportive family, friends, community, all of that behind me. And I'm fully aware that that's not the majority. Yeah. Unfortunately. So, you know, I always feel really terrible when I hear, you know, devastating stories of friends that have been kicked out of their houses as a teenager and stuff like that because they didn't have that support. And I feel bad because I can't relate on that level. But you know, all you can do is be as supportive as possible and just do what you can, whatever they need. But yeah, fortunately, I've been on never anything crazy.
Cool. Yeah. That's good.
I mean, there are good people out there.
There's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
There's
they just don't get a lot of the publicity.
Yeah, there's way more good than bad.
Yeah.
It's just the bad have the loudest voices.
Yeah, we highlight everything bad, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the media. That's the media's job.
Yeah.
Get those viewings, get those ratings.
Yeah, no matter what side you're looking at, right?
That's right.
It's crazy.
Yep.
That's why we shut it off. That's why we turned it off. Like I just can't deal with it. I don't care. I genuinely do not care about Trump, Biden, any of that shit. Like it doesn't make a difference to me, especially my immediate life. Like my business is still gonna run dependent on whether I run it good or not, you know, or well or not. Like Trump and Biden, it's cool, it's a cool show, but like I personally think conspiracies, right? That they're not actually running shit. Like there's people above them.
Well, they have very little power. I mean, if you think about it, you know.
Yeah, like I think it's like the CIA,
FBI,
or,
sure, right,
whatever. So like, So I could give a shit, you know.
I mean, there's checks and balances for a reason.
Yeah.
But like you said, the actual like, this isn't a monarchy, you know. Like,
Right.
we're not.
Yeah.
But it's terrifying because it does seem like we're moving in a certain direction away from democracy, which is terrifying.
Yeah. That's why we all got to get like a big piece of land and move all the good people there and just trade cows and cheese.
Hey, good old barter system.
Yeah.
I love a good barter.
Yeah.
Like, I got some skills. What do you got for skills?
Yeah.
What can we do here?
Exactly. Yeah. I barter. I don't give a shit.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think when the world ends, people will still want Botox and their hair done?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you still got needles tucked away somewhere and you got your clippers tucked away somewhere, yeah, there's going to be some
Gonna be
fucking...
some underground railroad
Yeah.
beauty salons going on.
Yeah, for sure.
People want their fitness. So
You guys are going to be the tea party. What?
Is that people will want to be fit in that time. So you'll be
Well, I mean, it's gonna be survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly.
literally.
Yeah.
We know the people that aren't gonna survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's by design, man. I think it is. So,
There's a lot of stake can go into like divine intervention, and things are what they are for a reason, and will be what they will be. You know, all those kinds of things. That
Yeah.
It's like you can only control what you can control, and influence what as far as your circle goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously, the larger the circle or the more connections, the further that influence can go. But like, if everyone just does their part and be a better human. Like, I know it's cliche and tacky, but it's true.
No, it
You
is
gotta
true,
find
yeah.
that positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there is so much negativity in the world.
for sure.
are you spiritual?
Sure. Yeah, spiritual, religious, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Believe in God?
I believe in a higher something or another, whether or not one person created everything that exists. I
You're
don't
not
know
sure about?
that. Yeah.
Just you said divine intervention. So.
Yeah. You know. But I mean, there's the things that are out of your control that,
Yeah. Totally. Well, cool. You want to close us out? This has been great, dude.
Yeah.
It's a really good
I
podcast.
told you he had
yeah.
a great story.
Great story. Yeah.
I feel like your husband has a good story too that I didn't know about.
yeah. He's not much of a cameraman, microphone type thing.
That's okay.
He kind of clams up.
That's okay.
He's a little, I don't want to say socially awkward, but he gets a little awkward.
You can't be that awkward if you're a recording artist.
Yeah, what the heck? Or is
Yeah, he's
in a
behind
room?
the screen.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
guest room.
yeah.
That's him by himself
Yeah.
in our guest room.
Yeah. That's Never mind. I think about my time in the studio too, and it's just like doors shut.
Yeah.
No
And
one
even
knows.
that, he does that like on his days off when I'm at work. So he doesn't even do it when I'm at home. So it really is.
You do it at home? Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, our guest room, his game room, recording studio. Like it's all in one room.
Nice.
Are you a gamer? Like a PC, Xbox type of guy?
No,
Switch? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's a big
Sweet.
Zelda guy.
Oh,
Animal
Zelda rules.
Crossing. Ugh,
Yeah.
He's got to get his turnips every day or whatever on Animal Crossing.
I didn't know
So
people.
outside my world.
I
didn't know people still played Animal
What the hell
Crossing.
you're talking about?
He's I don't have any. I'm more of like a Super Mario Brothers. Like, again, I have to have a goal.
Yeah.
Right. Like do the race or get the flagpole, whatever.
Right.
The whole like role playing, wandering around. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
My ADD kicks in 10 minutes in. I'm like, this is boring. I quit.
sure.
Okay, so we ask
Three.
3 questions. The first question at the end of the podcast. So the first question is, what is your biggest goal in the near future? I guess we've been saying this year, but
Yeah,
this
say
year's almost over.
till the end of the
so
year.
I guess what is your
I'm gonna say at this point is getting to the end of the year.
I mean, what is your biggest goal that you have, currently, like professionally, athletically, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, so right now as we quickly steamroll to the end of the year, Salon is going to get insane real fast. It's October, which means I am in holiday rehearsal mode already, because I kind of go from back to school, which is like August, September, and then my clients will book their December appointments and then work their way back to fill in the gap. So I'm already in warm up to the holidays, which is terrifying. And it's 80 some degrees outside in Wisconsin today.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really getting through the end of the year as far as the salon goes. We have our Disney run the first weekend in November.
Do you have any specific goals for times or anything like that, or is it get through all three? Or
yeah, well, to get through all three without being injured. But the thing is with like a Disney run is it's about the experience.
Okay.
They're not like a PR type run. You know, they have character stops out and photo opportunities, and all creating all the magic
3 days
that Disney does, right? So when I set up my training program, I did set a time of like, for my half marathon, I think I did like an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes, which my PR right now is 1:55 for a half marathon. So I am training towards that goal, but come race day, I know that's not actually going to happen because I want to do all the things along the route. But just kind of getting through, and I know I'll be able to do the 3-day run because in the marathon training, that happens all the time, the 3-day consecutive runs. So, my big goal for the year was the marathon back in June, which was brutal.
do you think you'll run another one? Cool.
So following the marathon, I was like, nope, I'm good, done it. And now I'm kind of like, I mean, why not?
You got to do an ultra now.
No, 50 miles, like that's. I have a client.
He's saying this now and then watch in like 2 years. He's like, hey, by the way, I signed up for an ultra.
I have a client that ran an ultra earlier this year, and it was like 9.5 hours.
Yeah.
9.5 hours of running.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Could do like the Ragnar.
So we were going to do, because now Ragnar has sprint distances.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like the one that goes from Chicago to Madison, you can do just the Milwaukee to Madison leg now.
Oh,
it's like a
cool.
sprint distance. I think this was the first year they were doing it. And it was on our radar. I couldn't get a team together, kind of conflicted with the marathon training and stuff like that. I was like, I could squeeze it in, but it doesn't really fall in line. Let's not hurt myself type thing.
Yeah.
So that's on my list. Also, I mean, I am doing I just got asked to do the fall 50 in Door County as a relay team. And that's in 2 weeks because they had someone back out. And they're like, well, you're already training for something. So I'm going to be do 10 out of those 50 miles.
Nice. That's cool.
So, yeah, that's up in Door County. So.
Okay, so with that being said, what are you willing to sacrifice to attain your goals?
I don't sacrifice anything. I make it work.
I know. I like that answer.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you have to align your daily actions with your goals. I mean, it's if you want to achieve your goals, you have to take little steps toward them. Again, I'm someone that's easily overwhelmed, so I have to break things down into like baby steps. And as big races and stuff, I think get closer, there are a lot of things that go into it as far as like not just the training and working out and stuff like that, but nutrition, sleep, all those other things have to fall in line too. So it's making those small daily steps to align with your goals. And when you start to deviate from that, you either need to recognize that you've deviated from your path to your goals and either recalibrate your goals, which is not a bad thing either. You know, it's good to adjust your goals. Like you said, I'm close to my goal, so let's push it back out a little. Keeps you moving.
Totally.
And what are you not willing to sacrifice to attain a goal? Like what will you refuse?
Not willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What am I not willing to sacrifice? I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, I'm not willing to. Not willing to accept. I guess not willing to sacrifice. I mean, I'm not willing to sacrifice my self-drive. I mean, you gotta go. You have to keep pushing yourself forward. So I'm not willing to sacrifice. I don't know how I'd put that into words.
Well, you heard it here first. TJ's going to sacrifice everything.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm not willing to sacrifice. I mean, obviously, like my morals and what I stand for, my principles.
Sure.
I've built a really strong foundation on. It's weird when people talk about me being an avid runner and talk about health and nutrition and stuff like that. I'm like, I just found something that worked for me, and it dramatically changed my life, sure. But I've built this foundation on this, and it's worked for me. And I'm 2 years into this now, being less 100 plus pounds and all these different things. So, I mean, I guess I'm not willing to sacrifice that foundation for sure. The personal, I don't know, morale, drive, whatever. I mean, that's what keeps TJ going.
That's great.
That foundation. It's new, and I'm still working on cementing that foundation. But it's there.
It'll forever evolve.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because bad habits suck.
They do suck. Well, hey, man, we really appreciate you stopping in and doing the pod. Really appreciate your time. I thought it was great. So thank you.
Anytime.
Awesome story. We love it.
If you thought of new topics, maybe another one.
Yeah.
I would love to run it back. I got a couple more questions.
We could for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a whole spreadsheet of these for us.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. If you are new here, subscribe on the YouTube channel, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the cool places that you can be. And we'll talk to y'all in the next one. Thanks.